Hey guys, and welcome to the channel. Welcome in. There's my phone just laying back there. And there's my dog. She's probably going to get up here in a second and want to go out, but she's here. I guess she's going to stay. I don't know. We'll see. Welcome in, everybody. Hopefully you guys are having a great day. Rainy day there? Oh, Cheryl has a rainy day. I kind of like rainy days every once in a while. Then you can, I don't know, sleep a little bit. Be a little lazy. It gives you an excuse. I guess she's just going to lay like that, whatever she wants to do. So this is Mia, if you don't know, and I'm TitaniumBuilt. If this is your first time here, or Tanya, you can call me either or. But welcome in, everybody. Hi, Arlene. I saw Alicia's in here. Your pictures, oh, they're beautiful. Hey, Olivia. I wrote you back. I emailed you back. I hope you got it. I meant to email you the other day, and I was like, no. And then I forgot. Hey, GGB. Yeah, Jan, what's your question? And I saw little mama was in here, too, it looked like. Yeah. Welcome in. So as Jan's getting ready to ask her question, if you don't mind just taking a second to hit the like button, it really does help the channel, helps get the video out, and it'll bring you more people into the chat. If you do, decide that you love the channel and you want to become a member and you want to support the channel, you can do so by clicking the link in the chat. Then I'll drop it right now. And you could do that by just dropping the, just supporting us through memberships. We love to have new members all the time. I haven't watched Bloodline Detectives. I don't think so. But we did watch something like that on the channel here with Kohberger. It was like Bloodline something. But it wasn't Bloodline Detectives, I don't think. But let me know about it. Is it a good show? I'm going to put I wanted to put this in the chat too. So I do have a second YouTube channel. I don't promote it too much, but I am going to start putting videos over there. I don't know what we're going to do with the channel yet. I don't know if we're going to do I don't want to do really true crime, but maybe we'll do some sort of, I don't know. We'll do something over there. It'll be fun. We'll figure it out together. I figured we can do live vlogs, or we can either do reviews, or we could do stuff to do with pets. I don't care what we do. Just something fun, something different, something to loosen us up a little bit when we're not doing true crime. Oh, do you want to go out there, Mia? I'm going to let her out there really quick. Hold on one second. Come on, Mia. Want to go out there? There you go. Oh, she's staying. Okay. She said she's staying. Okay, then. You can stay. I got up when I went to the door, and she was like, no. She wants to stay. She likes the camera. Oh, Nancy Grace is the host. Okay, so it might have been the one that we watched. Because if it's the one over with Kohberger, it's the one that we watched. But if it's not, then I haven't seen it. But we did watch one with him, and we watched that the other night. Actually, I'll let you guys, everybody know, because maybe people in the chat didn't get a chance to watch it either. It's called Bloodline: The DNA and the Moscow Murders. That's my own title, but I'm not sure exactly what the title was. But I know it was Bloodline with Nancy Grace. And I'll put that in the chat if you guys want to watch that later. It'll be there for you. So we do have a little bit to talk about on tonight's live. Apparently, people are reading the Howard Blum article that we read on the channel on the 7th. If you didn't get a chance to see that one, I'll drop that link as well, because that was a really good live that we did. We did a live. We read the article, the airmail article, and then we went and we watched a Nancy Grace documentary. So it was a really good live. And I'll put that in the chat as well. Yes, with the DNA. Very, very interesting. I thought it was really, really good. Okay, I think we're talking about the same one then. And welcome on in, everybody. So like I was saying, welcome in. We're going to get right on into things. So yeah, the Howard Blum article, other people are starting to read it, and they're starting to have, their thoughts, opinions, and feelings. If you didn't get a chance, like I said, I did drop the link in there, so you'll be able to go over and listen to that live if you don't want to read the article yourself, because it is kind of long, and he's wordy. He likes to use words that no one's ever heard of before. But in the beginning of that live, before we read the article, I remember like telling you guys, take it with a grain of salt. You know, he's an author. That's what he gets paid to do. And then as we were reading the actual article, it says within the article, Howard Blum comes out and says that he's never talked to Steve Gonzalez and he's never talked to Shannon Gray, the family's attorney. So I don't know what the uproar was, because everyone should have known that it was fiction. Like it wasn't going to be true. But I guess, you know, that wouldn't sell. I guess that wouldn't sell, and that what people wouldn't, you know, view videos, because it's like the internet broke out there with this stuff. So it even said in the article, like I said, I've never had contact with Steve Gonzalez, and I've never had contact with Shannon Gray. He just goes on to tell the story. Now, preferably, I like the story that he came up with. Some of the parts of it, because it fit what I thought. And I was like, oh, that sounds good. That sounds good too. But in reality, you know, he is just an author. But with him putting out that article, I don't know why number 1 through 5 didn't affect the Gonzalez family like number 6 did. But number 6, like really, really upset them to where they came out and they made a public statement. And then Howard Blum came out and he made a public statement on Twitter. So it's kind of like back and forth now. You know, one person they gave their opinion, and another person gave their opinion. So I'm going to read those to you guys really quickly, just kind of go over those, and then we will get into the podcast and stuff like that. So this is really small, but let me see if I put me down here. The guy in the video, and I'll show you the video too, is the same reporter from the first day in Moscow, the guy that had the white shirt and he had the real fake tan. The young guy is adorable. He's the one that's in this video, this guy here. He toned it down on the tan or the makeup, but I wanted to read this to you and then I'll play the video. So it says, the father of Kaylee Gonzalez, one of the 4 University of Idaho students, murdered last November, accused an investigative journalist of spreading falsehoods in a series of TV appearances. In a digital publication series, The Eyes of a Killer, Howard Blum reports on the Moscow murders. He claims that Steve Gonzalez, man, I need my glasses, y'all. This is small. Was conducting his own investigation into the murders in conjunction with the official investigation conducted by law enforcement. Shannon Gray, the attorney for the Gonzalez family, said he went on to say that Blum accuses Gonzalez of taking liberties with the case, potentially jeopardizing Bryan Kohberger's case. In a statement from the Gonzalez family lawyer, Steve Gonzalez denounced much of what Blum states in his publication, saying Blum is profiting from his dead daughter and his family's grief. And I did put this public statement on the community page this morning. It says, I just want to make it very clear to the public that we have not spoken to Mr. Blum about the death of our daughter. This is nothing more than grandstanding and a very, very poor attempt at getting attention. This piece is obviously fictional, but written in poor taste. The Gonzalez family would ask that everyone please respect the victims of this tragedy and continue to support trustworthy journalism, Gonzalez said in a statement to Nonstop Local. Blum has contacted the Gonzalez family for an interview, which they say they have declined multiple times. The next hearing for the quadruple murder suspect Bryan Kohberger is set for October 26th, where the court will discuss Kohberger's motion to dismiss his murder indictment based on a biased grand jury. So that was the Gonzalez's, you know, their initial statement that came out. I will play this video and then I'll read, you know, Howard Blum's response to it. But let me rewind. Maybe if I can rewind the video back, we'll be able to play it. What's going on here? It's not wanting me to do it. Okay, let's see. Maybe if I play it.
Blum accused. It's genuine.
Oh, you know what? This is making me upset. Okay, let me stop sharing it. Just go back. It's like right here, I think. Yeah. Okay, let's try that again. That was like really weird. Oh, my camera's not even on. What the heck? Well, let's see what's going on there. I didn't realize that my camera wasn't on. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in. Let me see. Okay, give me just a second. Sorry, guys. Oh, well, you guys just can't see me for just a second. I'm like, what's going on there? But we'll see. We'll figure it out. It got me all mixed up now. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and play the video and I will figure out my camera while we're doing that. Okay. And thank you guys for being here.
On trial, the murdered University of Idaho students is accusing an investigative reporter of grandstanding and telling outright falsehoods in a series of TV appearances, profiting, he says, on his dead daughter and their family's grief. Nonstop Local's John Webb looked into this story for us. John, what can you tell us?
Good evening. First and foremost, I can tell you that Steve Gonsalves is upset. He sent Nonstop Local a statement through his lawyer denouncing much of what reporter Howard Blum has been writing. Blum has a series for a digital publication, Airmail, a multi-part series about the Moscow murders called The Eyes of a Killer. In the series, Blum writes that Steve Gonsalves was conducting his own investigation parallel to the official one being conducted by law enforcement. Blum accused Gonsalves of taking liberties with the case and potentially putting the real case against Bryan Kohberger in jeopardy. Steve Gonsalves says much of what Blum has written is not true. He says that he and his family most of the time ignore the chatter surrounding these awful murders, but that he has to draw the line somewhere, and that line is with that Airmail series Blum is publishing. Gonsalves says Blum is simply trying to, quote, make money off the dead and is using the murders to, quote, get back into the spotlight. He goes on to say, quote, I just want to make it very clear to the public that we have not spoken to Mr. Blum about the death of our daughter. This is nothing more than grandstanding and a very, very poor attempt at getting attention. This piece of obviously fictional but written in poor taste. The Gonsalves family would ask that everyone please respect the victims of this tragedy and continue to support trustworthy journalism, end quote. And again, this statement sent directly to Nonstop Local. Gonsalves also says that Blum reached out to him and his wife for an interview, but they've repeatedly declined. As for the facts in Kohberger's trial, the next hearing scheduled for October 26, where they'll discuss Kohberger's motion to dismiss his murder indictment based on a biased grand jury. In the newsroom tonight, John Webb, Nonstop Local.
College football on SWX. This week, the Pacific.
Speaking of football, I know football did start. Believe us, we have Aries in the group. So she comes and tells us what the score is sometimes. When she knows that my team's playing, she'll tell me, she'll let me know. Yeah, I don't know what happened to my camera, but that really threw me off of my game right there. Like, where were we at? So we were talking about Howard Blum in the Airmail article. I'm going to go ahead and give you guys his response to that. I just think it's really wrong. I mean, there was parts of the Airmail article that I was like, oh, cool, that aligns, like the Walmart receipt with the Dickies tag. They were saying like it was a Dickies work uniform, things of that nature. I was like, oh, that makes sense. But he was saying that Steve had like information that he didn't have. And I don't know if Steve was in possession of the Linda Lane footage. I mean, there was talk of him being in possession of it when it came out. So I don't know. I don't know if some of it's true, some of it's not true, but we probably won't even know until maybe court, maybe not even then. But I hope we find some answers, because I would like to know how like Howard's getting his information, because I feel like he's getting his information the same way we're all getting our information. That's why it sounds like it's connecting in our brains. It's going, oh, well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Because he's literally looking in the same chats we're looking in, hanging out in the same groups we're hanging out in. Just like Miss Nancy Grace said about Chris McDonough. She met him because she was snooping around on YouTube trying to find Bryan Kohberger content. And she found him. And that's when he found like the glove outside of the house on Thanksgiving. So she, has him on her show now. It's pretty funny. Yes. Right, Gigi. Yeah. Like if anyone ever thought, that Steve would just be out there blabbing his mouth too, like to people, I don't see him doing that. I personally don't think that they have a whole lot of information outside of what we have. Like, and I mean, I hope they do. I really, really hope they do, but I don't know if they really do. Everything is totally tight and gagged on this case. They may not be releasing stuff to the family just in case of a slip. I mean, this is a death penalty case, you know? So, of course, Howard Blum came out with a statement on Twitter. Whew, if Twitter was a boxing ring, you know? So it says, a brief response to the statement by the Gonzalez family attorney. 1, I have no wish to get into a public argument with Mr. Gonzalez. He wasn't trying to. He and his family have already suffered too much pain. 2, we both agree on that I never interviewed him, as the article clearly states. 3, my portrait of a grieving father was based on a trove of texts he wrote that were made available to airmail, his public statements and interviews with people close to him. Now, I don't know where the text messages were coming from. I don't know about what text messages, you know what I mean? Like, who were they sent to? Where were they sent? Like, what did they say? What were those in those messages? I don't know. It's very, very crazy. They really are on us, yeah. It's just, oh my gosh, it's so crazy. I wonder if they probably don't do Twitter. Or yeah, I don't think they do, like the Gonzalez's. They have Facebook. Actually, let me check and see if they came out with anything on there yet. Are you kidding? Oh no. Let's see if I can log in. I don't know if I remember. I logged myself out of everything, and now I don't know, like, what life is about. I'll have to look on my phone. Well, let me know if anyone looks that up. I don't remember my password. That's so crazy, isn't it? Here, I'll look it up on my. I would just ask me if I tried to like log in. Yeah, that was me. They'll be on my first people that I search for because I don't ever get on here. There we go. Oh, I do want to say happy birthday to Steve. It was his birthday the other day. I'll let you know. Let me see. And it was it was Olivia's birthday, but I think it was Steve's too. One day ago, happy birthday to our oldest daughter, Olivia. Happy birthday, Olivia. And then one day, but it's Steve's birthday. Yeah, like, what the heck? So does Steve and Olivia share the same birthday? Because it says right here that it was one day ago Olivia's birthday, and then one day ago Steve's birthday. Wow, that would be really cool if they have to. That's what it's saying, huh? Unless it's like a day apart, but still really cool either way. Happy birthday, Steve! Happy birthday, Olivia! I hope that their days. I hope that they were gentle. You know, they were with peace and they were with family, and they had a lot of cake, lots and lots of cake, and lots of hugs from the baby. So we'll go ahead and start the podcast here. Okay, so I was just trying to see what my notes were. I was like, where were we? I do have a second podcast too, so we'll just see where we are at the end of the first podcast. If we want to play the second one, we can play the second one. For some reason, the second one is like a bonus episode. So since I have Apple, whatever podcast, I get the extra bonus episode. So if we do play that one, I'll have to play it through my mic. So I'll sit back on my chair with my dog and I'll talk with you guys through the iPad so I don't make a lot of noise because I won't be able to mute, on the keyboard. So that way we can still chit chat and everything. And I do have new pictures to show you guys. I downloaded and uploaded or whatever. I don't know what you consider that, but new pictures for the podcast. So let me go ahead and bring this up for us. Want to thank y'all for being here again. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. We'd love to have you. If you'd like to join our channel membership, we'd love to have you join our membership too. And I'll get this up and then we'll start playing this. I'm going to play it and pause it real quick. And then I think there's some commercials in the beginning. I'll fast forward through those.
Prime Big.
Okay. And this podcast, they talk about the prosecution decides to pursue the death penalty against Bryan Kohberger. They talk about the death penalty. They talk about what legal maneuvers the defense and prosecution are going to do that could impact, the future trial for Bryan.
For work, you know the drill.
With the all-electric Ioniq 6 44603 for complete
radio.
penalty for Bryan Kohberger.
Contact your Hyundai dealer for availability details. EPA estimated 361-mile range for Ioniq 6 SE long-range RWD with fully charged battery. Actual range varies based on trim and other factors. Call 562-314-4603 for complete details.
Big breaking news out of Idaho involving the death penalty and the man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students.
Prosecutors say they will pursue the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger.
This is The Idaho Massacre, a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Episode 9, Life or Death. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a television producer at KT Studios with Stephanie Lydecker, Jeff Shane, and Connor Powell. With less than 3 weeks before the legal deadline to decide whether or not to seek the death penalty, prosecutors announced on June 26 they would recommend the maximum sentence for Bryan Kohberger,
calling him a continuing threat to society.
Under Idaho law, prosecutors have 60 days to formally notify a defendant after they enter their plea if the state plans to pursue the death penalty. In a short, to-the-point 3-page court filing, Leda County Prosecutor Bill Thompson wrote that based on the known information, there were no mitigating circumstances preventing prosecutors from pursuing the death penalty. He also cited a number of, quote, aggravating circumstances in the brutal slayings as reasons his office was seeking the death penalty for the former criminology student.
The Latah County prosecutor says the murder of 4 University of Idaho students was especially heinous, atrocious, or cruel, manifesting exceptional depravity.
Thompson noted that Kohberger acted with reckless indifference to human life and that the November 2022 murders of Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin were carried out during another crime like burglary. The decision was months in the making, but also left the families of the victims divided. Under a new Idaho law, Bryan Kohberger could be executed by firing squad if he is convicted. In 2023, Idaho became the 5th state to adopt execution by firing squad as an alternative to lethal injection.
It was to be expected, given what he is accused of doing.
The prosecution's decision to seek the death penalty for Kohberger was not a surprise, but it did raise the stakes of the upcoming trial. And the move triggered a series of many legal maneuvers by both the defense and prosecution ahead of a pivotal motions hearing on the next day. In the weeks leading up to Leda County Prosecutor Bill Thompson's decision to pursue the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger, prosecutors turned over a mountain of evidence to the 28-year-old's defense team as part of the legally required discovery period. Among the boxes of evidence were thousands of pages of reports and other written material, 10,200 photographs, 9,200 tips that were delivered to investigators, and 51 terabytes of audio-visual media and digital materials. As the state pushed their case forward against Bryan Kohberger, the 28-year-old's lawyer began to lay out their defense strategy ahead of the key June 27th hearing.
They are not conceding anything here and will fight every piece of evidence.
In recent days, Kohberger added 2 new members to his defense team, attorney Stephen Mercer of Maryland and Bicca Barlow of California. Both are experienced defense lawyers and experts in criminal cases involving DNA evidence, particularly the use of the new DNA field of investigative genetic genealogy. Led by Kohberger's chief counsel Ann Taylor and her deputy Jay Logston, the new team immediately began to attack that prosecution's case. These new court filings offered a preview of a brewing legal battle over DNA evidence between the defense and the prosecution.
In new court documents, Kohberger's attorney accusing the state of hiding its entire case.
Defense attorney Jay Logston tore into the prosecution's case, saying there was no evidence of connection between Bryan Kohberger and the 4 victims. He argued that there is, quote, no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Kohberger's apartment, office, home, or vehicle. Building upon that argument, the defense also demanded investigators provide information about 3 other male DNA samples that were discovered at the murder scene. Here's Jeff and Stephanie.
According to Kohberger's defense, by December 17th, about 1 month after the murders, lab technicians had isolated 3 other male DNA samples, 2 of which came from inside the house and a third pulled from a black glove that was found outside the home a week after the murders. But get this, police investigators didn't originally find that glove. It was found by a podcaster and a retired homicide detective who was just sort of poking around. He saw the glove nestled among some leaves and branches on the ground behind a trash can near the home on King Road. He then told police about it, and they photographed the glove before collecting it for lab tests.
How is that possible? Now, again, no one really knows when that glove first appeared or if it had any connection to the murders.
To me, the big question is, what type of glove is it? It was in the 30s the night of the murder, so people very likely would have been wearing winter gloves. But if it's a latex glove, that tells a different story. And while we don't know what type of glove it was, or if it was even connected to the crimes, we do know that investigators found male DNA inside of it.
Now, what the defense wants to know is what type of testing was conducted on that glove, as well as the other 2 samples.
The prosecution ran short tandem repeat, or STR DNA, on the 3 samples.
But the defense is wondering if there were any other DNA tests that were run. Because look, when the information from the STR DNA test was actually submitted to the FBI database, no male DNA profiles were identified.
So, Steph, to break that down, what we know is 3 men's DNA was connected to these samples, but we don't know who they are and if they have any connection to the crime.
And it doesn't appear investigators tried to do a genetic genealogy DNA test to identify them in the same way that they did for Bryan Kohberger.
In addition to requesting information about the 3 unidentified male DNA samples, the defense also challenged the prosecution's use of investigative genetic genealogy to initially identify Bryan Kohberger from the DNA on the knife sheath. Kohberger's lawyers suggested the prosecution is purposefully withholding details of the genetic genealogy research, saying in a court filing, "A massive investigation came to focus on Kohberger and Kohberger alone. The state appears to be trying to hide its original domino, such as he cannot discover why." It is not uncommon for defense lawyers to challenge the use of new and emerging technology like investigative genetic genealogy, and Kohberger's defense team has demanded access to all of the FBI genetic genealogy data used to tie Kohberger to the crime. Again, Stephanie and Jeff.
And now remember, when Idaho investigators first found the DNA on the knife sheath, they ran it through the combined DNA index system database.
However, this person's DNA was not actually in the CODIS database, and investigators were unable to identify the individual, but they didn't give up. The FBI jumped in to help and used a rare, controversial DNA technique called investigative genetic genealogy. Like we talked about, traditionally, it's really only used in cold cases. Most famously, it was used to capture the Golden State Killer Joseph DeAngelo in 2018.
It's actually rarely used in active investigations because some states have laws discouraging it, and many public genealogy companies, for example, like Ancestry.com, they prohibit law enforcement from using their databases for investigations. But in this case, the FBI took the DNA sequence data from that knife sheath sample to a private testing facility in Texas called Othram, who then utilized public genealogy websites to identify Kohberger's family tree.
However, despite the defense's request, the prosecution is saying that Kohberger and his defense team have no right to the FBI data and the paperwork from this process.
This is going to become a DNA case. That's what it's going to be all about. This bushy eyebrow identification is going nowhere. But it's a battle of experts. So usually the government has a lot of money, much more than a public defender's office. So one of the problems for the defense is going to be to get enough money to hire the appropriate experts to deal with this issue of DNA, because that's really what it's going to come down to. And I also believe that there are some serious problems in terms of the way this thing was handled, in terms of sending it out. I mean, I was shocked, truthfully, to see that.
Stephen Greenberg is a legal expert and former federal U.S. attorney. He spoke with Stephanie and Jeff. Kohberger's defense team believes the FBI's handling of the investigative genetic genealogy data is crucial evidence and could be exculpatory.
Exculpatory evidence means exactly what it sounds like. It's exculpatory to the defendant. The Supreme Court, a number of years ago, decided a case called United States versus Brady, a long time ago. So this, besides, lawyers call it Brady material. And what it means is prosecution that has in its possession anything that in any way is helpful of defense, it must be turned over. And if they don't turn it over, it could be the end of the case for them. Even many times, there's been a guilty verdict, and then on appeal, it turned out that there was Brady information or exculpatory information that wasn't turned over, and the guilty verdict was vacated.
Is there a time when that window closes, or is it every moment up until the verdict is read?
In terms of when they have to turn it over?
Yeah.
Never ceases. Even if during the trial, let's say, something came up that all of a sudden landed in the lap of the prosecution and it was helpful to defense, they'd have to turn it over. It's a constant obligation that the prosecution has.
Using genetic genealogy to identify a suspect is a painstaking process and requires skilled researchers and analysts to put the complicated puzzle together. During the process, it can also identify a huge number of people connected to a potential suspect. Stephanie and Jeff.
How exactly does DNA work? Each person's DNA comes from roughly 50% of their parents and 25% of their grandparents. And with each generation you go back, the genetic similarities are reduced a quarter, meaning you share about 12.5% of your DNA with your first cousins and 3.125% with your second cousins, and actually less than 1% with your third cousins. In most public genealogy databases, it's pretty easy to find third or second cousin matches because the bar is so low. That's why you see headlines where celebrities say they're related to famous dead presidents.
But in this case, to narrow it down to a specific person, genetic genealogists at Othram, that's the testing company we were talking about, and the FBI had to do a lot of digging through birth certificates and other genealogy information to build the tree. And this is the important part for the defense because they want to know the process from start to finish.
Yeah, Steph, what they're saying is that if all this painstaking work was done, there should be a long paper trail of how this research was executed. And you would think Othram or the FBI would have logged it somewhere.
But the prosecution has so far refused to provide the data to Kohberger's defense team, with the prosecution insisting they don't have it. The prosecution also says they won't use this information at Kohberger's trial because they want to protect the names and personal information of hundreds of innocent relatives on Kohberger's family tree and the names of the publicly available genetic genealogy services used. The question is, does the FBI and Othram have the records the defense wants? Were any of the records kept? Or has all of it been destroyed? Regardless, this is a potential issue for law enforcement and the prosecution's case because of the Supreme Court mandated obligation to provide all Brady evidence to a defendant, especially a defendant in a death penalty case. Here again, former federal prosecutor Stephen Greenberg.
The only thing that popped out to me so far is, for some reason, when the Bureau went through all the different phases it went through in trying to match the DNA with this defendant, and they failed, and then they tried to build a tree, and they sent it all over. They didn't keep records. There's no way to attack the indictment that I have seen yet, other than this issue we're talking about exculpatory or Brady material, or very simply put, information that's helpful to the defense that the prosecutor has. Why they didn't download all of these things the Bureau did makes no sense. If it's helpful to the defense, it has to be turned over. There will be a pre-trial hearing on this issue of chain of custody and the use of DNA. And that will be determinative, because if that hearing goes the way I think it might, I don't know who the judge is, I don't know what his or her particular leanings are, but if the prosecution gets whacked on this issue, then there'll be either be a plea to a much lesser charge, be a dismissal. But that issue will be decided long before trial.
Let's stop here for a break. We'll be back in a moment.
Prime Big Deal Days are here with 2 days of big savings exclusively for Prime members. You'll feel like you just...
$1 billion were stolen. Restoration special.
Lisa, we know that good sleep is nights to try out your mattress
Include a counter the defense's
EESA.com.
Happy birthday, Ashley. Thank you guys all for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. I was just going to interrupt it there just to say happy birthday for a minute. But I didn't see your message. I was like, oh my gosh, I had to go up in the chat. I was like, I missed something. Happy birthday. I hope you had a wonderful day. Because girl, you deserve it. You deserve it. Like if anyone deserves a good day, it's you. And I hope you didn't work. I know you probably worked today. You better not have worked. I hope you didn't. So I'm going to go ahead and play the rest of the podcast. It's almost over, and then we'll kind of see where we're at there. If you guys don't mind taking a second to hit the like button, it really does help the channel. If you guys are not subscribed to the channel, we would love to have you. Also, I forgot to thank Pam. She sent me a PayPal. I think it was last Saturday. She does it once, I don't know, every couple of weeks or once a month. And I just want to thank her for doing that. It really supports the channel and it really helps. I know she doesn't really, sometimes she's not in the chat. So sometimes she's just watching. And thank you, Jan, for gifting memberships. That's so nice. Thank you so much.
.com/iHeart. Exclusions apply. See lisa.com for more details.
The prosecution is likely to counter the defense's demand for the Othram and FBI's research at the June 27th hearing by insisting the only relevant DNA information for a trial is the buccal swab taken from Kohberger's mouth when he was arrested at his parents' home and the paternal DNA sample taken from the Kohberger's trash. Both of these DNA tests show an indisputable statistical match between Bryan Kohberger and the DNA on the knife sheath.
The likelihood that this is Bryan Kohberger's DNA, and it is 5.37 octillion times more likely than not that this is a match.
Jeff and Stephanie.
We know the DNA profile found on the knife sheath is at least 5.37 octillion times more likely to be Bryan Kohberger's than someone else's.
And that's a very big number, correct?
It's kind of impossibly big to wrap your head around. We're going to do our best to kind of explain it in terms that we felt was helpful. 5.37 octillion is 5.37 followed by 27 zeros. And to put this number into more perspective, there are currently about 8 billion people living on planet Earth right now, or 8 followed by 9 zeros. It's estimated that about 109 billion people have ever lived on planet Earth, and that's 109, again, followed by 9 zeros. A reminder, 5.37 octillions is 5.37 followed by 27 zeros.
So that's a tremendous number, and it seems impossible that it wouldn't be Kohberger. Even the defense doesn't seem to be arguing that the DNA found on the sheath was Kohberger's. At least they're not doing that yet. But what they are challenging is how investigators utilize DNA to conclude that it was Kohberger's DNA on the knife sheath.
So in this case, the only fact so far that we know of that the prosecution has to link this particular defendant to this awful crime is DNA evidence. That's it. And from what I've seen so far, that's not that solid. So, they'll show pictures of the gruesome slaying of these poor college kids. Defense will try to keep it out because they'll say it's too damaging, and the judge will say, no, it's okay because it's relevant. That will all happen. But when push comes to shove, so far, we're talking about a case that hinges on DNA, and we've all seen what preceded the taking of the final swab and the match. And I just think it's too early.
You mentioned the DNA is the big thing because we don't have any motive. I mean, there's no connection that we know of. The defense is arguing there is no connection. That's the whole point. So does that matter?
The prosecution does not have to prove any motive at all. If they have a motive, it will be helpful. The lack of a motive will be helpful to the defense because they will argue that there was no reason for this particular individual. He didn't know them. There was no motive. There was no fight. There was no money issue. There was no girlfriend, no boyfriend, whatever it is. There's a doctrine called mens rea in the law. And mens rea is very important here because the prosecution has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that not only did this guy take it and slash them and stab them and all this stuff, but he had an intent to do it. He had a specific intent, or what they say in Latin is mens rea, and then he's guilty of murder one. But they have to prove intent. They do not have to prove motive. And then as I said, the defense will argue, well, there was no reason for him to do it, then the motive goes on that side.
One potential defense that Kohberger's attorneys have yet to try to raise is a not guilty by reason of insanity defense. In many states, a defendant can claim insanity when charged with felony crimes if they show a lack of mental capacity. But Kohberger's team can't make this argument. Idaho is one of only 4 states, along with Kansas, Montana, and Utah, that does not permit insanity as a defense. The Idaho state legislature removed it from the state's criminal code in 1982 and passed a law saying that mental condition shall not be a defense to any charge of criminal conduct. Stephen Greenberg says even if Idaho did provide a legal path to raise insanity as a defense, it likely wouldn't work for Bryan Kohberger.
This guy was getting a PhD in criminology. He went back to school after all this happened, right? He went to class. So in order to succeed with an insanity defense, you basically have to show that the guy couldn't have had the mens rea I mentioned earlier, or the intent, because he was incapable of discerning right from wrong, okay? In some jurisdictions, they call it an irresistible impulse. But the long and short of it is, in layman's terms, is if charged individual was so incapable of discerning right from wrong and didn't realize in any way what he was doing because of that particular status of his mental capability, then you don't have murder one because you don't have intent. Okay? So all this kind of, but I don't, unless there's something I've missed, I don't see this based on the behavior of this particular defendant as an insanity defense.
Though mental illness may be used in Idaho as a factor in sentencing, even if the jury finds Kohberger guilty and sentenced him to death, his lawyers can challenge a death penalty sentence by presenting mitigating evidence as to why Kohberger should be spared execution. Meaning, if Kohberger is convicted of murdering Kaylee Gonsalves, Madison Mogen, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin, then he could be spared the death penalty if he is proven to have a mental illness. Kohberger's own words as a teenager about suicide, depression, and his rare eye condition, visual snow, may come into play in the future. However, Leda County prosecutor Bill Thompson said in the court filing announcing his decision to seek the death penalty that the state had not seen any evidence of mitigating factors such as mental illness in Kohberger or his family. Still, Kohberger's lawyers could produce evidence of past mental health issues during the penalty phase if Kohberger is convicted of the brutal slayings.
If you're not going to pursue the death penalty on a quadruple murder, what type of case are you going to pursue the death penalty on?
Before Leda County prosecutor Bill Thompson announced his decision to pursue the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger, he met with the families of the 4 victims. While not every member of the victim's immediate family have spoken publicly, there is a divide over Thompson's decision to pursue the death penalty. Xana Kernodle's mother, Kara, has said she doesn't support the capital punishment for Bryan Kohberger.
I'm not interested in a death penalty. That's not who I am. I don't believe in that. But I do think that he should spend the rest of his days in prison.
In contrast, Xana Kernodle's father, Jeff, said he supports the death penalty for Kohberger.
You can never replace the loved ones that are lost, but having some sort of justice is what the Gonsalves family wants.
While Madison Mogen and Kaylee Gonsalves' parents also support the decision to pursue the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger. Steve Gonsalves has been particularly vocal about his support for the death penalty, saying it is one of the reasons he moved to the state of Idaho.
If you come after my child, I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that we come after you.
Ethan Chapin's parents have not weighed in on the decision, even when asked. Stacy Chapin, Ethan's mother, has said she will not attend the trial, and her focus is on her family and keeping Ethan's memory alive.
It doesn't change the outcome.
even looking ahead at the trial coming up in October now, it does not change the outcome of our family, and it's energy that we need to put into healing our kids and getting back to a new family dynamic and working on that. And so we let the prosecutors do their job, and we do our job in our family.
Let's stop here for another break.
Tired of restless nights? Meet Lisa, the sleep experts. Here at Lisa,
I'm going to let this one play through because this commercial, just because if I fast forward it, it's towards the end, it'll skip the end. I don't know why it does that. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it so much. If you guys wouldn't mind just taking a second, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and come and chat with us in the chat. We'd love to have you. So I will be not fast forwarding that. So that's why I just wanted to let you guys know.
we know that good sleep is essential for mental, physical, and emotional health. That's why their mattresses are made for exceptional comfort and support, catering to every sleep need. Check out Lisa's Sapira Hybrid Mattress, named Best Hybrid Mattress 5 years running. Sleep hot? The Chill Collection is built with cool-to-the-touch top fabric and layers of high-density comfort foams, all intended to remove excess body heat while maximizing comfort. With Lisa, getting a new mattress has never been easier. Delivery is free, and you have 100 nights to try out your mattress in the comfort of your home. Don't spend another night dreaming of better sleep. For a limited time, save up to $700 off select mattresses plus 2 free pillows. Go to lisa.com/iHeart for an additional $50 off mattresses and select goods. That's LEESA.com/iHeart. Exclusions apply. See lisa.com for more details.
Soft, quality cashmere. That's the ethos behind the Naadam brand. In 2013, Naadam changed the cashmere industry by creating heirloom quality sweaters that were more colorful, more accessible, and more sustainable than ever before. Their incredibly soft knitwear is responsibly sourced, surprisingly affordable, and crafted in modern yet timeless styles for every season. From classic sweaters to chic dresses, Naadam has something for him, her, and more. Take 15% off at naadam.co with code SOFT15. That's SOFT15 at NAADAM.co.
Of all the kitchen hacks I know, Better Than Bouillon is my favorite. It's great for broth, of course, but you can also use Better Than Bouillon as a flavor enhancer. Just a spoonful adds so much flavor to stir fry, sauces, even marinades. Plus, they have reduced sodium and organic options, and the culinary collection, which includes amazing flavors like Italian herb and smoky chipotle. Make everything better with Better Than Bouillon. For free shipping on 2 or more jars, use code BETTER at betterthanbouillon.com.
The split over whether or not to pursue the death penalty is not the only issue dividing the parents of Kaylee, Madison, Xana, and Ethan.
Meanwhile, work crews started preparing the house where the murders happened for demolition.
In February, after Kohberger was arrested, the University of Idaho announced it would demolish the blood-soaked house at 1122 King Road. University President Scott Green called it a healing step in the wake of a crime that shook the community. The owner of the home donated it to the school, and plans were made to turn the lot into a park with a separate memorial to be built on the University of Idaho campus. But now, with the trial of Bryan Kohberger set to begin on October 2nd, some of the families of the 4 murdered students are pressing the University of Idaho to halt its plans to demolish the 3-story structure. Here is the Gonsalves family attorney Shannon Gray talking to the Law and Crime Network.
A big piece of evidence that, potentially a jury might want to see it. I mean, there's sights and sounds and viewpoints and angles. It's an odd-shaped house where witnesses were standing, where, potentially the defendant was standing.
The off-campus 2,175 square foot home has sat empty ever since the brutal murders on November 13th, 2022. Today, it is protected by a high metal fence, and its lawn is covered in weeds and tall grass. Forensic investigators finished combing through the house long ago. Both the defense and the prosecution have said they are finished with the house, which has been flooded by a surge of true crime tourists who regularly come to visit. The university and the neighbors want the house torn down before students return to school in August of 2023. But the family of Kaylee Gonsalves is urging the university to wait and say that the school is ignoring their request.
And we've just stressed, just hold on, wait till the trial is over and then do whatever you want with the property. but they will not listen. And it's frustrating. But if they think that they're doing it on behalf of the community or the victims' families, it's not true.
Stephanie and Jeff.
And in the same week that there were these legal fights over DNA evidence and the announcement from the prosecution that they were in fact going to pursue the death penalty, workmen began preparing the 3-story house for demolition. They removed the remaining furniture and any other personal items that were left behind after the murders. And that's the end of it. It seems so strange that they wouldn't wait until after the trial.
Yeah, despite the prosecution and the defense saying they were done with the home, Kaylee's family was worried that the jury may want to see it at some point. They said publicly they wanted it left intact so the jurors could walk around the property to better understand the events of the morning of November 13th. The family wants the house demolished eventually, but they're afraid that if it happens before the trial, it may hurt the prosecution of Bryan Kohberger.
However, despite their concerns, the community apparently wants it gone sooner than later. According to Shannon Gray, Kaylee's family lawyer, the university basically said that we hear you, we get your concerns, but we are in fact going to move forward with the demolition because it's good for the community.
I understand the feeling of wanting the site of such a tragedy gone as soon as possible, but if even just one juror is swayed in either direction by seeing this house, then they need to leave it up. Justice is the number one goal here, and it seems short-sighted to potentially get rid of this huge part of the case forever.
We've seen this happen before. In fact, in our other podcast, The Piketon Massacre, we saw that the homes where those murders happened were also infamously moved into a warehouse, which caused lots of controversy. Can you imagine if they had just torn them down? It seems like they would be destroying an active crime scene. And also in that case, the jurors all went to the location of the crimes. That was a big part of the pregame to the trial.
Yeah, Steph, that's a good point because as Kohberger's movements on the night in question are very relevant, it stands to reason that the same sort of thing might happen for this case.
The next hearing in the case of Idaho versus Bryan Kohberger is set for Tuesday, June 27th. Many of these issues could be settled after this important hearing, but the trial could also be pushed back to provide more time to decide these issues, and because Bryan Kohberger's life is now at stake. More on that next time. For more information on the case and relevant.
Okay, let me get everything kind of down. And I do have another thing to show you guys. So thank you guys all for being here. Let me see here. Oh, I about left the chat, y'all. That would have been bad, wouldn't it? That would have been funny, actually. There we are. Now we're back to normal. Sorry, I'm not very fast at doing that. I did have a couple things. So they just were talking about, stuff that we've already pretty much went over, but it's a nice little summary of things. I really like the lady's voice in that podcast. I think a lot of you guys do too. She is calming for some reason. Now, I'm not sure who the guy is that's in there. If you guys know what channel he's on or where he's from, but he sounds, I know his voice. I just can't put a face to his voice. And we've listened to him for months now because we've done all of these podcasts. If you guys are interested in listening to any of these, they're in the description. And then like to go straight to the podcast. But if you want something to watch as you're listening to the podcast, it's all underneath my Idaho playlist. So I put like little clips up. So I have 1 through 5 or 6 on my just pre-recorded videos. So it's just a video of just that because that's what we did when I was on vacation. So I'm glad that we were talking about that in the chat because I didn't realize that they didn't pull that whole Newsweek article. There was a Newsweek article that was out over this case. And there was just a lot of misinformation in there. And I pulled it up because I had the original, I still had it like pinned. And I was reading through it again. I'm just like, there's still misinformation. They're talking about him going up on a ramp to go home. Like, they're talking about the Hyundai Elantra being made between 2011 to 2014, but it was really the first guess was the 2011 to 2013. Like there's just small little misinformations in there. So I'm not going to show that because we would just be debunking, it seems like, through there. But I did want to show you guys this. Core TV came out with a video over Bryan Kohberger's like internet searches, and it was basically just them catching up with what has been going on with Bryan Kohberger. So I figured we would watch that. It's just a very short video. It's only 6 minutes. So, but it does have Vinny Politan in it. So can't beat that. But if you guys wouldn't mind just hitting the like, hit the subscribe. Don't forget to chat with us in the chat. We love to have new chatters. And if you don't feel like chatting, that's fine as well. But I'm going to go ahead and play this through, and then we will see where we're at. And I'm going to actually, I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to see if there's anything new out on Bryan Kohberger, because they might be posting something with the whole airmail article coming out. So I'm just waiting on more people to say something, because Fox News already put out like an article talking about it. Like they say, well, he didn't necessarily talk to Steve, but I mean, the title and everything looks like it's like new information. So
you read the affidavit and you just find out that nobody understands exactly why, but he was stalking them, he was hunting them.
The maximum penalty for that offense, if you plead guilty or are found guilty, is up to death and or imprisonment for life. Do you understand?
Yes.
This was probably a person that blends into the background.
Yeah, we're from Pennsylvania. We actually don't have crosswalks.
His neighbors and people who know him superficially would probably never guess that he had any violent tendencies.
It's disgusting to think about someone that used to hang out with all the time could do something like this.
Are you waiving your right to a speedy preliminary hearing?
Yes.
If you got to know him well, you would see layers of things that were a bit off or different.
What I do know is that Bryan did have anger issues.
You could tell there was some off about him. Very quiet, calculated about what he says. Actually very similar to how he walked into court. No different.
I'm just curious about the law. I don't mean to...
Oh, no, yeah, I can find it for you. Yeah. Everything that I've read about Bryan Kohberger would fit the type of person that we would expect for doing a crime like this.
All right, we've got some news tonight, some new information released, and this is the information that prosecutors are attempting to get or have received, but is now under seal. But we've got what the requests are from their warrant. First, Amazon data. Take a look. All detailed customer click activity pertaining to knives and accessories. All details of items in carts, to include all items added to the cart, all items removed or deleted from the cart, and all items saved in the cart, wish listed or shopping baskets. They want to know what the accused killer was shopping for on Amazon. Next one, very interesting. Spotify, search queries, streaming history, playlists, user library, browsing history, account settings, interactions with other Spotify users, user third-party services, devices, and applications in connection with the Spotify service. Next one is even more interesting, related to Spotify. User device sensor data to include motion-generated or orientation-generated device sensor data. Had no idea that Spotify did this, which the user device collects about the way the user moves or holds their device. Okay, from Apple, the contents of all emails associated with the account, including stored or preserved copies of emails sent to and from the account. The contents of all instant messages associated with the account, including stored or preserved copies of instant messages, including iMessages, SMS messages, and MMS messages sent to and from the account, including all draft and deleted messages. And don't forget, folks, this is on the docket, motion to dismiss. It's a big, big hearing, October 26th. And of course, we will be covering that for you right here on Court TV and Closing Arguments. Let's bring back in our think tank, Bernardo Villalona, Lori Murray, Ian Friedman. Ian, this is a case where no murder weapon's been recovered. We do not believe any bloody clothing has been recovered either. We're not sure what, if any, evidence was even recovered from the white Hyundai Elantra. So in light of that, and the fact that the key piece of evidence is some DNA from a knife sheath from this button snap up on top, as the key, really, to place him at the scene, the knife sheath that was found beneath the victims' bodies. How important is this search history and this internet history, Amazon, Spotify, Apple?
I think it's critical. I mean, this is a case that technology is going to help make. I think here they've got the sheath, as you said. If there's a knife that was ordered by Amazon that fits that sheath, game over. Because that one, as defense counsel, that's going to be really tough to get around. Now you add to it all of the movements that put him in that place, search terms that are talking about it, order histories, and so forth. It's going to be a problem if all that adds up. But if that knife was ordered on Amazon, or if they're able to prove it anyway, that he had the knife that fit that sheath, and this getting around the sheath by itself with his DNA there is tough enough. But they put that knife on order to him. It's good night.
Lori Murray, you can learn a lot about defendants these days, right? From the digital footprint, from what we're doing, what we're saying. In this case, they need as much as possible, right? This defense, it's going to be a death penalty case. The defense is fighting every issue as hard as they can. They're incredibly competent, the defense in this case. What are your thoughts about this information, this data from Amazon, Spotify, Apple?
Well, I thought that their requests were very thorough, and I was impressed by the thoroughness of it. First of all, let's talk about Apple. I don't think that they're going to find that many text messages on there because I don't think he had any friends. So you might have some emails that are, spam emails, but I don't think he had a whole lot of social interaction with anybody. So Apple, you're probably not going to get much from. Spotify is interesting to me. I didn't know they kept that data either. I'm going to have to watch my Spotify. But, I guess they're going to look for whether he was near the crime scene with the Spotify, whether his phone was, and what orientation it was. But I think you can get that same data from Apple. So that's a little bit odd to me. But they want to hear whether he's watching shows like How to Get Away with Murder or listening to true crime podcasts and, all of these, maybe they're all stabbing deaths that he's listening to about on podcasts. But the most interesting one for me is the Amazon one, as it should be to everybody, because they're not only asking for this particular knife, maybe they find that he got the knife there. Maybe they find it, that is a huge magic gift that Amazon would give them. But what if he was just looking for knives? What if he just shopped around and clicked, and they asked for the clicks, not just what he bought, but what they clicked, so that they actually look at all of the things, and he clicked on 17 different knives that were like this one, and then went and bought it from the local store so as not to have the record of it. He's still caught. And so I think that's a really good search and a really good subpoena on behalf of the state.
Okay. I can't believe she's actually stayed back there this whole time. What? My camera just went out. Okay. Well, I'm going to stop it. That's just really weird. I saw that happening. It had that was really weird, guys. It had like a thumbs up. Did you guys see that on your side? It was on my screen. It was like a thumbs up. It should have been thumbs down because my camera went off. Yeah. I bet I have to unplug this thing. I hate unplugging this cord back here. It's just like a hassle, But that's okay because that's what you have to do. You have to improvise on your live. Maybe my camera's getting worn out, but it's really good camera. Okay, well, it's not working. We're just going to go like this. It's a really, really good camera, and I don't know. That's just really weird. Yeah, that's like the name of the camera, I think. I think that's what it's called. I don't know. I've never touched it before. I only turn it on and off. That's all I'm allowed to do. But yeah, it's not turning back on. That's really, I'm going to turn it off one more time and try it. But if not, that's okay. You guys don't really necessarily need to see me, I guess. But I like it when you see me because then, my eyes say so much. So I don't know if you guys had heard of this. Oh, before I don't let me forget, I will say something about the Delphi case before we got off the live. Let me throw this over here because I started reading the documents and I was like, woohoo. Okay, so do you guys remember about the naked guy that was seen running from the 1122 King Road residence the night of November 13th? There was like an article that came out It was in one of those, it was in a publication that nobody had ever heard of. It was like their first, it was like their first article even. It was like, and it was like, how are people really going to believe that? Because of the fact that it was literally this place, like, I don't even think they were in the US. Doesn't mean anything, but I don't think they were even in the US. And I think it was like their first article that they had ever written. Well, I heard that coming back around. A lot of people are talking about that again. So in my opinion, I saw that article. We went over that article. That article is totally, in my opinion, fake. It just really is. Let me see if I can turn this back on. Nope. Okay. Well, I don't know. But that makes me so mad when I can't get something done. But yeah, so I don't think that it's true because of the article that I read. We read it on one of the lives. This was a while back. I want to say this was in like before summer hit that we read that, or maybe in the beginning of summer. But I mean, this was a while ago. Was it? Oh, is that who it was, Jan? Was it Circus Guy? I don't watch them. I can't do it anymore. So I haven't been watching anybody. I remember. So like when you go to my page, like on my For You page, it has like dogs and cats, like, like what to do to make your puppy happy and like celebrity gossip. It's very crazy. But how I do is like really listen and go to and watch that for the channel. But I just don't I'm trying not to get my head in mixed in with, other stuff. Trying not to get it to where I'm not thinking straight, because there's just so much misinformation out there. So yeah, I don't believe that was true. I wanted to bring that up though, because I saw that it was circulating again and I'm like, oh my Lord, have mercy. But I mean, I could see Bryan Kohberger or whoever the suspect is that done this. I could see them wearing, like a worker's outfit, like a Dickies worker's, outfit or some sort of outfit, and then having clothes on underneath of it and just derobing the outer garment. I don't see anybody walking around in 28-degree weather. That's what the temperature was that night. I don't see them walking around buck naked. That's going to be kind of cold. Oh, he doesn't make any sense to me. I try, I can't. And Vincent, actually, he made a really good point. He's like, he's more entertainment. He tries to help me understand things. And I'm like, I don't understand. But I did see that he was talking about crypto or something, and Vincent's very fluent in that. So I'm going to make Vincent look into that. So Pickle, me too. I am leaning towards that myself. At first, I was leaning towards like Bethany didn't see anything. She knows nothing. She saw nothing. She was just in that little, downstairs corner by herself. But the more that we go back and we even see the pictures, we see that there's like evidence marker on her actual like window. I don't know if I have that picture. I do right here. So you can see like on her window right there, there's an actual like little sticker. And they were taking pictures all over that side of the house. I'm curious what was there. Now I'm like, Let's see if we can, yeah, my camera's still not working. Oh, yeah. Vincent will have to look at that. It's probably just like my wire probably got hot or something. But yeah, so I was going to show you that. And then the moving of stuff around the house, like the stuff that was in the sink, they moved that to the kitchen table because I have a picture where the kitchen table was completely cleared. And then all of a sudden there's a bunch of stuff on it. It's very weird. I don't know. We need to go through I feel like we need to go through the crime scene photos again, because there's just a lot that I feel like we missed. I don't know. I feel like I'm just now seeing. Yeah. Well, PKC, I know that the defense did go into his apartment at one point in time and they collected something out of the bathroom sink. We are diverse over here, I feel like. That made me smile. I can't believe my camera won't come on. But that makes me so mad. I'm going to try it again. Okay. I'm going to keep trying it. Yeah. So the Dickies tag, like that, I don't know. That thing, I don't know. That I think that was actually even in the the search. So let's see. I usually have all these sitting right next to me. Maybe we'll have to go back through those. I do have this one that's actually a little bit, you know, the one that they wrote out. It's like really, really bad. You can't really read it. We did go through that. Maybe we'll have to go through the search warrants again. That could be a good idea. That's what I thought. Yeah, the search warrant stated is Walmart receipt and Dickie's tag. Yeah, I was trying to find the actual, like, so I could show you the document. But of course, there's so many. Like, I can see where it's in my head, but I can't find it on the paper. So, but it is on one of the search warrants. I believe it's for his apartment. Yeah, I think that, yeah, Dylan's dad did. Yeah, ALR. We actually went over that on the channel. Yeah, he did it with it was a guy that's writing a book about the case from Idaho. So do you guys think I think it's kind of strange. This is just me. Like, and this is probably just me thinking, because I like to think of how the human brain works. But Bethany, we see pictures of her and she's out at baseball games and she's smiling. And then we hear from Dylan's dad, because we haven't seen Dylan. And we hear from her dad that she's very recluse, staying inside, and she plays online video games with people that she knows online. That's what she does. And I'm sure she probably doesn't even use her real name. And definitely not a real picture. But, you know, they're like on different sides of the spectrum of like just healing. So I'm just really, like, I feel so bad. I feel bad for Dylan, you know. Oh, yeah, we do. DB, are you from Ohio? We have a polar plunge here in Ohio. They do it every year. I think, I don't know if it's like the first game of the year. I don't think that's probably what it is. I don't know. I have to ask Vincent. He went to Ohio State. See, and that's why I think that he bought Dickies too. I've been saying that forever. Like, I think I've been saying that. I don't even know. I have to go back and look. I did a video on what I thought happened, like the night of the homicides. I did a video on like December, probably January. And my like, I did another one, but it didn't change any. I still think the same. Oh, I know, Elisa. Yeah, there's going to be so many books that are going to come out. I'm trying to start a documentary, if I can get that out. I want to start a documentary on this case. I want to do one. I want to have it done. So within like a month. That's a lot. That's cutting it close. But I really want to have one done by the anniversary or the week of the anniversary. And I want it to be done really well. So I'll have to get on that. I wanted to start on that when I got back from vacation. Oh, yeah, PKC for sure. Dylan gets harassed. Yeah, a lot more since the PCA came out. When we found out her name, we were like, and we found out that she saw things. I mean, it was like that was a moment, you know? Yeah, and has like PTSD. I couldn't imagine. I mean, I can because I have PTSD, but it's completely different. Oh, no, you can. Oh, I know who you're talking about. Watts. Thanks, Elisa. Oh, thanks, Jan. I have it actually wrote down, but I won't forget. So I'm actually going to just go to that really quick because that's so crazy. Okay, so Delphi, I haven't read through all the documents yet, but y'all, wait till tomorrow. Okay, we're probably going to, there's so many updates. There's a Ruby Frank update. There is a Charlotte Cena update. Cena, I said it right the first time. Cena update. But we're gonna have to go through the Delphi docs. OMG. So leave with a cliffhanger there. The Odinite patches that they were wearing, this is as far as I got, was in fact the same patches that the defense was showing us. They're saying though that these are patches that are for their religion. I ain't ever heard no CEO ever allowed to have some patches on his uniform that are not code with the state that they are working in. Those uniforms are property of the state that they work in. So who is allowing this to happen? Like, really? I mean, my perception is changing a little, and I am going to read the rest of those documents tonight because that's some good stuff. I do not like where this case is going either, Elisa. It's not where I'm wanting it to go. It's what is going on. And maybe we just need to hear from more, maybe I just need to read the prosecution's response. Maybe there's more in there, but that's like a what? The patches are and I think I saw something about they were videotaping him with his wife, but they were like, well, what do you expect him to have a complete privacy? But I think that you do get that, like, some level of privacy. I'm sure they could record it, but you don't have to videotape it. That's just a different level of privacy. Like, when I'm just being recorded by my voice, like right now, like you guys can't see me. I feel like I'm different than when I'm on the camera, because I'm like looking down right now. I'm not really looking up at the camera. Like you could just be different. Wow, man. So yeah, we're going to go over Delphi tomorrow because I'm going to read the rest of the documents. But I only got through like the first couple of pages and I was like, oh my gosh. I was actually at the store waiting on something whenever I was reading them. I was trying to listen to the podcast and read the Delphi documents at the same time. It wasn't working for me. It wasn't. I can't do two things at once. Yeah, Holly. Yeah. Steve said that's bull. Yeah, bull crap. He didn't say that. Yeah, Jeremy, yeah, that could be. I think that there was more people there than he anticipated, which is weird to me because there's always more people there than there were that night, usually. Do you know what I mean? Like, they had parties, they said on a regular basis, like on a nightly basis, they would all have 1 to 2 friends over each, like shuffled out through in and out of that house. Not maybe at the same time, but so that's 10 people that they're having in the home on any given night. It's just, you would think if he's been around this property 12 different times and he's smart, right? He's going to school for this, getting his PhD. You would think that he would observe that and be like, okay, I'm going to hit this house up. I mean, maybe he was like, that's why he hit the house up that night, because he didn't see as many cars. But that would deter me as a criminal. You can see in that house, even though you can see in that house, but there's just so many people usually in there. That would deter me as a criminal, but I guess that's me. But yeah, and then all the cars, Cheryl, yeah, you're right. Like, all of the cars. Kaylee just brought a car that was unfamiliar. We don't know for sure. We don't think that she posted it on social media because she was trying to keep it a secret from Maddie. So she wouldn't have posted it because she wanted to surprise Maddie when she got there with it. I'll just read the chat, sorry. Yeah, subcategory, yeah. I think, well, actually, it's kind of like these people were overtaken by like people like that, like this group of people were. And I think Ethan shared his Jeep with one of his twins. I'm not sure if it was his sister, if it was his brother, but I thought that we heard that before. Yeah, to be smart, he made a few. Yeah, Patchy, you're so right. He made a few. That's what anybody I feel like would do in the frenzy of a crime like that. I mean, unless you are a skilled person, and we all know he's not skilled with a knife, guys. Okay, let's not give him credit where there's no credit to be due, because unless he got proficient in that in the last, he's had like 10 years. 12 years, then maybe. But he was, filleting fish, and they weren't letting him fillet the fish. He worked at a pay lake, and they were like, no, he wasn't good with a knife. We didn't even want him near the customer's fish, like, because he was going to fillet it wrong. It's just, Maybe that's why he decided to commit this crime with a knife. I don't know. What do you guys think that they're going to do with the house now? Since the trial is, put on hold indefinitely, it's just crazy. I don't know. I have questions. I think that with the adrenaline pumping, he sat that knife sheath down and he forgot about it. It is so big and clunky. I don't know how you'd forget it. But when I held it, like when I held one, I mean, I was like, wow, these are huge. I mean, compared to the knife. And I think that with it being under Maddie's body a little bit, partially, maybe he didn't see it. So it didn't hit his head. His brain didn't compute to grab that. When he was walking out the door, he would just have the weapon and he was just, maybe he heard something downstairs. And that's when he headed down there. He could have heard the DoorDash. Well, no, he would have already been in the house after that. So maybe he was hearing Xana get up, going to the kitchen to put her food, in the kitchen by the sink. And, maybe he heard her coming around that corner. I don't know. I hope not, but. I don't know why he would really do it I just think that he would do it to try to prove somebody, that he could do things. If he's going to do it, I don't know. Oh, yeah, we went over the Howard article, the other, like on the 7th. Oh, I wonder what the texts were. Yeah, I don't know. They did say something about text, but yeah, Steve said that he didn't have any contact with, well, I mean, we already knew he didn't have any contact with Howard Blum because when we read the article, it said that in the article, but I don't know. Yeah, PKC, you're absolutely right. Yeah. It takes skill to fillet, it takes power to do what was done here. Yeah. I'm just reading the chat. You guys are so smart. The whole thing out of control for him. Yeah, it didn't go according to plan. Yeah, it didn't go according to plan. I think that was the big thing, and that's why mistakes were made. And I think that we're going to hopefully find out more on the 26th about what's happening. Do you guys think the judge is going to dismiss the grand jury indictment? I don't see it. That's just me. I mean, I don't see it happening, but he could. And then they would just get another, grand jury, and then they would just get another 16 people. And another 16 people would come in and see the same evidence and probably come to the same conclusion. So then you have the state pissed off kind of because, you done wasted their time. I know I would be. You don't think he will? I don't think he will. Yeah, if he does, it doesn't really change anything. Yeah, he's still going to be sitting in there. I mean, that's me too, ALR. Like I don't think he's going to, but it wouldn't surprise me because of everything that's going on with this case. I mean, you guys saw me when we heard that when he was waving his speedy, when he waved his speedy, I cried. I still haven't watched him go to court for that yet. I can't do it. I really can't do it. I can't watch him say that. Absolutely. Or whatever he says when the judge asks him if he's, waving his right. And if he knows what he's waving and, what he's doing. And he's like, absolutely. And I'm like, I don't even want to hear it. I read it and that was enough for me. But you guys know that got me in my feels. So I wonder what his defense will be at trial. I wonder what they're going to come up with. I wonder what they're going to say about the DNA. Now, if this DNA was on a light switch or a doorknob, we probably wouldn't be here talking about this because he probably wouldn't be sitting in jail. But it was on a knife sheath, on the snap that you snap the weapon into. You use the snap to snap the weapon into that and to take the weapon out of that. So did he just take the weapon out and then he handed it to someone else? Like that ain't going to be a good, that ain't going to be a good defense. The whole I was just driving around. Get out of here. He should have said he didn't know what he was doing. He should have said, I don't know. I don't know what I was doing. Probably sleeping. I don't know. I have visuals now. I don't know what I was doing. Like something, I don't know. I would not be like I was driving around from before midnight on the 11th or the 12th through the 13th. You're driving, or the 12th through the 13th. Yeah. You're driving for like 6.5 hours. Very crazy. And does anyone notice that he comes in more confident than the last time? Do they know something that we don't know over on the defense side? Because Kohberger, I need to do a side-by-side of him. But every time he goes into court, it seems like he's a little more confident than the last time. But it's like, I'm reading the same documents that he's reading. And I'm not seeing it. Now, I wonder if he is... Now, I wonder as a defense attorney, if you give your client everything that you're going to be giving in court, if you tell them what you're going to be doing, or if you just give them the basis of like what you're going to like the big things that you're going to touch on, or I wonder if he'll know the whole case. I wonder if he obviously he probably knows way more than we do because he's probably the one that committed the crime, but just wondering what they give him, I'm still wondering if she straight asked him, did you do this? And he said, yeah. Or he said, no. Because that would be my first question as a defense attorney or any attorney. If I had a client, I'd say, did you do it? That'd be my first question. And if they said, because, I'm like, I have to defend you. If you did it, let me know. That way you can have a different strategy. I was just reading the chat. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Why didn't he say like his car? Yeah. His phone was stolen, his car or something. Yeah. That would have been better than driving around. The way he looks at his lawyer's creepy. It is. It really is. I think that he looks at her almost like, I think like, I don't know how to say it. Like, I think he feels comfortable, like almost like a mom. Like he feels comfortable with her because he has to in a way. Like she's holding the cards. Like she's holding the cards for, how his trial is going to go. Like he has to depend and trust her with his whole, his literal life. And with his mom not being there, I would be latched onto my attorney if that was me and I was in that position. But, Well, yeah, but TK, normally people don't drive around from 11 to 5:30 a.m. and then come back to the same place at 9:30 the next morning. They usually don't drive around that much. And if you're going to drive around that much, you normally have like a drink with you. So you have to go to the bathroom. So you'd have to stop somewhere and go to the bathroom. Or if you're not going to do that, let's say just go out in the woods because you're a dude. Don't you think after 6 hours of driving, you'd have to get gas? I wonder how long you can drive on a tank of gas in a Hyundai Elantra. Let's see if it'll come up quick. There we go. 450-mile driving range from the standard model. And y'all know he has a standard model. Okay, so that's not telling me anything. How long would it take to drive 450 miles? 450 minutes, you think? Just trying to see. It says here 410 miles. Let's just see. Okay. 6 hours, 18 minutes, 27 seconds. So he'd be cutting it. 8 hours. Yeah. Okay. That's why I looked it up and it said like, it says it's a miles to a mile per hour time calculator. And this is a 65 miles per hour too. And y'all know he probably didn't go that fast the whole time, but he probably was going fast on the highway or the back roads home. So yeah, I mean, if he could do it, I guess 5 or 6 hours, that's really cutting it. The defense looked this stuff up because it's like right there on the, you know, he could have been like, I just filled my gas tank up that day. So how many hours? It says on here that it'll last 6 hours, 18 minutes, and 27 seconds, 410 miles. That's a 65 miles per hour though. If you're on side streets and stuff, you're going around, you're backing up, you're turning around, all that stuff. You know what I mean? You're going to be going a little bit slower in those residential areas. But for the most part, he really wasn't in residential areas. He was on back roads and he was on like highway, like areas, like where it's more 45 miles per hour, like down those back roads. So people go pretty quick. I just know from experience living in a small town and having back roads like that. But that is all I have for you guys for tonight. I do have some stuff. I have another podcast I want to play for you guys. Plus, there's a couple other little things that, you know, are going on with this case I wanted to go over, but I don't want to keep you guys too late tonight. Also, don't forget tomorrow we're going to do Delphi. I think that's a really good case to cover because we've been covering it on the channel and there are new documents out. If you guys haven't heard the 136 page document drop, if you would like that read to you while you go to sleep tonight, I do have a playlist under the Delphi, and I read all 136 pages to you guys. We did that, and I'm proud of that because y'all, that's a lot of reading. We didn't mess around. So tomorrow, that's where we'll probably cover. And then I know there's a Ruby Frank update I saw. I haven't watched it yet, so I'll have to, you know, dig into that. And there is a Charlotte Cena update. I believe Nancy Grace is covering that, so that'll be good. Also, I want to get back into Ellen Greenberg. We're not, you know, we're just getting started with her case. So I want to make sure everyone knows that we're going to be covering that. But I love you guys. Thank you guys for being here tonight. I really do appreciate it so much. I really, really do. You guys are amazing. You guys spent a little bit of your evening with us, and I really appreciate that. So don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like the video, all that fun stuff, and come back tomorrow, 8:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, because we will be here talking about Delphi, the case of Abby and Libby out in Delphi, Indiana. I did go to the Mona High Bridge, so I mean, this is like, it's getting me in my feels, really, because I don't know what to think about the new documents. So I'm going to get off here and I'm going to read them. And thank you, Jan, for sending me those today. I really appreciate that so, so, so much. Oh my gosh, thank you. And I will see you guys all tomorrow night. Bye, guys.